Hey guys, Kevin Bupp here, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Real Estate Investing for Cashflow podcast. Our mission is to help you build and maintain massive amounts of cash flow through income producing real estate investments. Now, our guest for this week's show is real estate investor and developer Mike Kaeding. Now, Mike is the CEO of Norhart Inc., a multifamily development firm based in Minnesota. Now, Mike and his team are on a mission to dominate the multifamily industry by delivering the best construction cost to value. He and his team are transforming the way apartments are built and managed by incorporating technologies and efficiencies that have revolutionized other industries and lead to high quality, cost effective projects. And so with that, guys, it's an honor to welcome Mike Kaeding to the show. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Excited to have you. Excited to pull back the curtain and learn a little bit more about you and your business and what sets you guys apart. But before we dive into it, Mike, if we could, again, I just gave you that very brief introduction there. I know there's a lot more to your story and your background than what I shared. And so if you would be so kind, I'll pass it back to you. And please tell our listeners just a little bit more about yourself, your background, and again, what it is you do there at Norhart.
Yeah, at a really high level, we're working to solve housing affordability in the nation. And so the way we do that is by solving construction costs. Right now, we're already achieving about a 20 to 30% reduction in our construction cost compared to other developers. And we believe we can hit a 50%
Hmm.
reduction in costs. But imagine what that means someday. That means someday your rent could be half, or your mortgage payment could be half. And so, at a really high level, that's what we're working to do is to solve America's housing affordability crisis.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's pretty intriguing. That's a great way to start off this show. So when you start talking about at present time, your costs being anywhere from 20 to 30% lower than that of the competitors that are building similar products such as yours. Let's start there, and help our listeners get a better understanding of what does that mean, and ultimately, how do you get there? I mean, what is that path that you've taken that others haven't discovered yet?
We could talk all day on this,
Yeah,
but give you
sure.
a
No,
really
it's
quick
exciting,
sense.
especially given the amount of inflation that we've all experienced
Oh,
over the last
yeah.
couple of years, and no real sight of it coming down anytime soon. So when we start talking about again 20 to 30% savings, maybe up to 50%, these efficiencies that you've created, would love to learn more about that, please.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. At a really simple level to start off, just to give you a flavor, if you look at other industries like manufacturing, they've improved over the past 60 years by 760%. Agriculture has improved by 1,500% when looking at labor productivity. Construction during that same time period has remained flat, been
Hmm.
just 10%. And so what we're doing is we're taking the lessons learned from these other industries and applying it to our own. So to give you some sense of that, one of the first things we did was bring all of the work in house. Traditionally in the construction world and real estate, your owner may be different than your developer, who may be different yet again from your general contractor, than your subcontractors, who's different from your suppliers and your manufacturers.
Hmm.
Imagine for a moment if a construction company were to produce a car. They would have a different company installing the wheel, a different company installing the door, and a different company installing the windshield. And then the windshield company, well, they get delayed on another project and they can't come out for 2 weeks. Your line would be shut down. And when they did come out, they would be irate because they could only work on one car at a time. And so in the manufacturing world, this is insane. This is crazy. They would never think to do that. And so in construction, it's very normal. That's the normal course of business. We put up with that all the time. But by bringing things in house, we can eliminate some of those inefficiencies.
Hmm.
And then what's really fun is we can start applying really simple techniques. An example is the assembly line. Revolutionized manufacturing. How do you use an assembly line in construction? Because you can't move a building down a line. But what you can do is you can move the person through the building. And so we take a building, we're breaking into small batches, which is basically a unit. And every 5 hours, all the teams shift through the building. And so every 5 hours, we produce a new, fully completed apartment unit. And that one little technique, because it's all in house, so we can do that, takes a 15-month project down to 9 months. And so there are a lot of techniques that are just like that we employ.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the idea of a vertically integrated development construction company, it's not unique. I mean, you're not the first one that have done this, and so I guess just aside from maybe the assembly line integration to the to the building side of your business, I mean, what are some of the other differences? Again, there are other large groups out there. I don't know names off the top of my head, but I know this is not a you're not the first to vertically integrate the entirety of your business. And so, what are some of the other things that again really set you guys apart that you feel you're light years ahead of maybe some of the competitors out there, whether they be huge firms or smaller firms just like yours? I mean, what really, what is it that you guys are doing that's so special outside of that assembly line production process?
Yeah, to give you some more examples, another part of it is just the depth that we've integrated. And
Hmm.
so, yes, we're the owners, we're actually the property managers of the building, but then
Hmm.
we're also on the flip side, we're the manufacturers. So we actually have manufacturing in-house. We produce steel wall panels. We have precast concrete
Okay.
facilities. There's only a handful of those in the entire Midwest, and none of them, from my understanding, are vertically integrated with a construction company.
Okay.
But we are, right? That's part of our process. If you look at the precast concrete, for example, not only do you lower cost on that, but we can deliver the concrete exactly down to the hour that we need it, right? That was something that
Hmm.
we struggled with tremendously before bringing that in house. Another component is the supply chain. So we actually have we control our supply chain. We have people in Mexico, people in China that purchase a lot of these supplies directly, and here in the United States. But then we can deliver these materials down to the hour of when they need to be to the right person, and that helps improve efficiency. Another key component in the world of construction is staff, and so stereotypically, not everyone, but stereotypically, construction teams tend to be pretty rough and tumble in kind of a gruff environment, right? Um, we don't subscribe to that at all. Instead, we're trying to build the Google of construction, and we actually fight to find world-class people. And so we will fly people in from other states to come work with us every single week and fly them home because they're the best in the world at what they do. And when you get a team of that level, they start to change things. We also have architects and engineers in house, and what's really interesting there is they're not just designing single buildings; they're working on designing the system that builds buildings through our
Hmm.
whole entire manufacturing facilities.
No, very intriguing. So, would love to get a better understanding of the evolution of your business, right? What came first? Because you talked about the various ancillary businesses that really kind of all pair together to create this, to create these inefficiencies that we're speaking to. And so, what came first?
Yeah, it was originally a very small business that my parents started, and so it was
Okay.
just yeah, I remember as kids going to the our family outings, which was a half an hour trip to the local hardware stores. We fill up full of materials and drive back, and we build just a couple of units at a time. So that's really where it started. It was very much a scrappy kind of environment. And we were able to cut costs by being scrappy at that point. And obviously that doesn't work at scale. And then what we started doing is most of our work was subcontracted out. But I remember one moment where one of the plumbing subcontractors came to us early on and said, Mike, we're going to triple the bid on this. Same style of building that we did before. It's going to be triple the cost. I'm like, I just can't afford this. And so we started looking into it. We're like, well, what if we were to bring that in house and actually start to do that ourselves? So we hired a plumber. Bought a bunch of books on plumbing. I started learning myself. And it was that sort of like mentality of like, we're just faced with a challenge and how do we solve that challenge? And we just kept doing that over and over again over the years.
What have you found to be as you evolved through bringing this in house again? Maybe instead of subcontracting out, you speak to the plumber here. You're bringing that individual in house or that team in house. There's a necessary scale of how many units you guys are building in any given year. But what did you find was what's kind of the baseline once you started vertically integrating your business? I mean, did you find that you had to hit a certain target of production in any one given year in order to support this new payroll?
It probably, what's interesting is you can use different strategies at every point of scale. But I would say we were getting fairly vertically integrated even by producing 100 units a year.
Okay. Okay. And then what is your traditional model today? You guys are you building the just standard multifamily apartment complexes? Is that your bread and butter?
Yeah, yeah. So we're building traditional multifamily. And one interesting point is kind of I don't know, special, or the way we think about things is people often ask, like, are you producing affordable apartments today? And the answer is we could. We could actually lower our rents to people by 20 to 30% today. And then we would solve housing affordability for a couple thousand people. That's great. But we want to solve it nationwide. So we're intentionally not doing that. And we're taking those profits and moving them into producing the system that builds housing, the manufacturing infrastructure. In fact, Elon Musk talks about how it's hard to produce a car, but it is 10 to 100 to 1,000 times harder to produce that system. And I think that's what's missing a little bit in this industry. But as we build that up and as we get to scale, our hope is in the next decade to produce so many units to the market that the prices start to naturally fall because of the abundance of supply. And that will actually solve housing affordability, not just for our own residents, but for everyone nationwide.
Let's unpack that vision a little bit and really the business plan behind it over the next, call it 3 to 5 years. What does that look like from Norhart's perspective? I mean, how do you get there?
Yeah. So our goal is in 10 years to be producing about 60,000 units per year. And
Wow.
today we're only at about 500. So long route to go there.
Mhm.
But the financing aspect of it's pretty simple, right? We're
Mhm.
producing 20 to 30% less in costs. And so traditionally banks are willing to fund at about 75% of value. And so for most of our projects, we get bank funding that's greater than our construction costs at its core. And so that helps us scale from a financial aspect. The harder aspect is not finances. The harder aspect is execution.
Mhm.
And Elon Musk talks about production hell. It's a very real thing. And as you scale up, it's a real challenge to do that effectively because you can double your staff, but that doesn't double your output. And so where we're putting a lot of time and attention is to finding the right people nationwide to bring the top minds into the space. And that's where a lot of my attention's been at.
So you're in the Twin Cities at present time. I think before we started recording, you had mentioned that you're looking to expand into Wisconsin and also Texas. But really, at the 10-year mark, this is going to be more than like maybe not in all 50 states, but you intend to be in a number of other states outside of those three, correct?
Yeah, maybe about 1 to 2 dozen.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Talk to me about the current state of the market, just the amount of volatility that's currently happening, just um it's been an interesting week to say the least. And as we record this, we're recording on March 21st, so this might not come out for a few weeks thereafter. But um talk to me about any impacts that the current market is having on your business and anything that you guys are doing to reorganize, adapt to the changing times. Has it had any impact whatsoever?
Oh, absolutely. I think if any developer or property owner tells you otherwise, they would be
Sure.
lying.
Yep.
The key impact that it's had on us is rising interest rates. Has had an impact on values, right? Cap rates are rising,
Hmm.
but deeper than that is the debt service coverage ratio on loans that we can get. And so traditionally we've been value constrained. Now we're debt service coverage constrained, which means if a project was offering us 75% or the debt was 75%, now it might be 55% rather than 75%, which means that we need more capital. And where prior projects, we could actually produce it just strictly on bank debt. Now we actually have to bring in outside capital. And so we have a war chest that we've been running off of to bridge that gap for now. But one of the pivots that we're making for the first time in our history is actually going out and raising capital from investors. And so we have a new platform that we're launching here in the next couple of months.
Okay. From retail investors, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Well, that's all really exciting. And I guess just getting a better understanding of the long-term business plan. I get that it's to scale to a larger degree and really be able to provide a affordable product and help solve this massive problem that we have throughout this country. But speaking to your business plan itself, as far as long-term hold, do you look to produce these units and then exit out of them? I mean, what is the real long-term vision of Norhart?
Yeah, our intent is to be long-term holders. Part
Hmm.
of the strategy that we haven't talked a lot about today is also thinking about improving the way people live. And so we actually have hired on just some incredible people. One is our designer who's really kind of re-engineering and rethinking about this experience. Steve Jobs announces the iPhone in 2007, and this guy, Steve Jobs walks off that stage, and our employee actually followed on that same stage following Steve Jobs' announcement at that event. And so it's incredible having that kind of energy to think about how we reinvent this experience for residents. And so to be very honest, I don't feel we've reinvented it today, but I think we're on the journey to reinvent it. So that's part of our long-term goal.
That's exciting. And how about just again, given speaking back to the volatility, there's a number of developers and builders that are even on the sidelines, maybe with some new projects that they had considered, getting into the pipe. Maybe now just focusing on their existing projects, just really trying to keep things from unraveling. Do you see there being an opportunity over the next couple of years to start scooping up land and, with the intent of future development?
Absolutely. Land has been so expensive.
Yeah.
And when you do get it, it's really hard to just get land, even if you're willing to pay for it. So what we're seeing right now is in multifamily in particular. I looked at the numbers recently, and the number of starts in multifamily is at the lowest level that it's been in something like 10 years. And so despite that, we also have the highest number of deliveries that we've ever seen. So this really kind of out of balance market. And so I think it's going to take a few months or years to kind of filter through, but I think that's going to give opportunities for developers in the next year or two. But at the same time, developers are faced with high interest rates. So it's going to be kind of a challenge to wrestle through.
Yeah. Agreed. And switching gears here real quick to something that came to mind that's, I guess, specific to really the current market that you guys are building in. You say the Twin Cities, and I don't know how many counties make up the Twin Cities, but I do know there's some rent control ordinances, and I'm by no means an expert of where they lie. I don't know if they're just within city limits or if they're only applicable to existing product, not new market rate product that's coming online or what. But I guess just speaking to the navigating the regulatory concerns and challenges associated with either current rent control laws or potential rent control laws that be coming down the pike that could affect your business. How do you work around that?
Yeah, in the Twin Cities, there is two cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, that are either have or are bringing out rent control rules, and we actually intentionally avoid them right now. I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but rent control doesn't work. It's not actually the solution, because what happens is that it stops the capital going into improving the infrastructure needed to build buildings. I think the way to solve it is by driving down the cost of construction and improving that system.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know all the details on it, but if I recall, and I don't know if it happened during COVID or prior to, but I know that the city of St. Paul had enacted some pretty strict rent control regulations, but then ultimately rolled them back slightly because they found that developers and builders just kind of bailed out of the market and said, "Well, I'm not building. We're not going to bring new product to the market given these restrictive laws." And so, have you seen new life start pouring back in from developers and builders into St. Paul, or are most folks just trying to steer clear of the cities there, given the rent control regulations?
So my information's probably a month or two old now. So I don't know just recently, but I know a couple of months ago, the last update I got is that everyone pulled out. It was a mass exodus. I think there was maybe one or two properties that were already kind of affordable developments that may have continued to go through, but it shut things down.
Yeesh. Yeah, not fun. Well, Mike, this has been a lot of fun having you here. I appreciate you coming on and sharing more about your business and just the long-term vision. It sounds amazing, and looking forward to following your progress. As you go down this journey. And for those that want to learn more, that want to stay connected with you or get connected with you, where are the best places to find you? You on social media? You can share a website. Any place that folks can track you down and learn more.
Yeah, the best place to start is simply our website. That's norhart.com. That's NORHART.com. And there you can learn all about us.
All righty. Fantastic. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us here today. It's been a lot of fun having you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All righty, guys. That's all we have for this week's show. So until we meet again next week, this is your host, Kevin Bupp, wishing you huge success. Take care now.